Okay guys, I'm gonna be honest with you, this one is a bit of a backup strat. I had pulled my Power Master Optimus Prime down from the shelves for review today just because there's a new one coming out, and oh my god, I'm pretty sure the joints are completely rusted up inside, so that's gonna go into the repair shop. Until then, we're gonna sit and talk about this figure from the Transformers Prime line. This is Sergeant Cup, because guess what? Cup is not something you can really trademark for the name of a toy anymore. As you can see, he is a heavy-duty pickup truck. Now, the original Cup, of course, was some kind of alien take on a pickup truck, and I generally like that they stick with that theme, though this one is looking particularly heavy-duty and modern for someone who is usually depicted as one of the older Autobots. If you remember when they did him for the Generations line, it was a much older style of pickup truck, still somewhat modern, but you could definitely tell older in style. This is decidedly new, and it might have to do with the fact that this was originally meant to be Ironhide, something that will become clear here in a bit. For now, he is done up in a very interesting kind of seafoam green plastic and paint, working fairly well. It's definitely an interesting and unique color. He does have these pale green highlights here and there just to add a little bit of color to him, because I've got the original Cup, and he ain't the most thrilling of color schemes. So I am glad they saw a little bit of coloration to him. They did opt to go with translucent blue for the windshields rather than white as the original vehicle had, so that was also a good call. The brush guard and the front bumper and all that painted over in silver, a little bit of an off shade of silver, but still nice metal shade. You can see the bottom of the bumper there, giving a little bit of kind of a very dark blue, actually, kind of paint job as well. You can see the light bar done up in the same brand of silver. Toward the back, the rear bumper has that same dark gray, slightly blue tinted paint. Not a whole lot of detail going on. You can see little bits where exhaust and little tail lights would be, so it's trying. This was when the toys were getting a little bit cheaper, so things like the hubs not being painted, and they are just mushroom pegged in rather than pinned. So while he does have four wheels, he ain't the best of rollers. Nothing you can really do about that, unfortunately. Oh, the budget cuts. They were an annoying thing. Now, the big thing you might have noticed by now is that for a pickup truck, this thing has some pretty big booster rockets on the back. Yeah. Something taken from movie Ironhide were these giant, massive cannons that he can actually equip and can equip together should you want them. You can see on the side there are pegs that peg holes that can actually accept them, and doing so doesn't really present a weapon mode so much as it presents a turbo rocket mode for the pickup truck. Something you might see on Mythbusters. Can you jump a pickup truck across a river? Probably not, but hey, they're going to try because it will cause an explosion at some point. Now, I don't like removing those. While it does present a much cleaner look for a pickup truck, now the bed seems rather clear and you can see the back windshield. It also presents this nice, enormous hole going straight through. That pickup truck bed is not going to hold a lot. That's not going to make a good work vehicle. So he does have some disadvantages, but overall, not bad at all for the vehicle mode. So let's get him to the robot mode, where this big piece of shell needs to come up, and that takes quite a bit of wiggling to get all the tabs out. From here, the transformation does get a little bit interesting. I'm going to get these out of the way just for the sake of getting some room. Let's split that open. This piece comes, let's see, can I get it all the way up now? Most of the way. There we go. Now, move the arms to the positions. This is the part I like about the transformation. This is like one of Prime's little tricks where all that kibble folds over those big panels and forms a nice forearm. It's kind of in the same vein as some of the joint tricks they used for the Viacon. But here, I don't know. This kind of really told me that Prime really knew what it was doing, getting rid of all of the potential shell issues that these figures could have. All right, so I'm going to go back down to the feet, where if I hinge them down, the feet do emerge from the truck bed. You can swing them around like so. That's where they go. So we'll do that again, and I'll let you see it this time. Out and up, just like that. That done, we need to get this midsection popped out of here so we can... Oh, come on. I hate this section because it tabs in so tight. Not a whole lot of clearance there. Sorry about the shake. With that out of the way, this front section can... come on, peg down into place right there. All that, this pegs into the back to shore up. That, yeah, we will address that here in a bit. For now, though, we're going to call that a robot mode. Well, hang on, I did forget one part. And someone's already chastising me in the comments for it. Yeah, this piece hinges down because we need to get the legs to go a little bit farther down. There we go. Now it's all good. Now it's all where it's supposed to be. Just like that, we have Sergeant Cup in robot mode. Looking quite a bit more buff than you'd normally expect a Cup toy to look. You know, one of the oldest and sternest of Autobots, typically not the bruiser aesthetic that you would expect. This is where you can kind of start to see where the Ironhide part of him was supposed to go. Definitely starting to show through a lot more here. So, we take a look at the robot mode's head close up. It's a little bit obscured by his big bulky armor here, but yeah, you can tell the head itself is somewhere between Ironhide and Cup in design. It's got a lot more folds and wrinkles to it, but it's definitely closer to Ironhide's helmet shape. So you could tell this mold was supposed to be both Ironhide and Cup. And of course in Japan it was Ironhide, and it was supposed to be here, to the point where even Walmart listings had this guy as Ironhide, even when Cup was on the shelf. Largely probably because there was so much red on the toy shelves already. They didn't want to overkill it and put one more red action figure on the Transformer aisle, which I can hardly blame them for. So yeah, I do like the look of this toy. While he doesn't have the super wide, super powerful proportions that the Cyberverse Ironhide mold has, I think it still has enough buffness to it to really get across that he is a fairly powerful figure and powerful character himself. There's a lot more of this dark gray, slightly bluish plastic showing through. It's definitely an interesting shade. It does give him a little bit of an aged look to him. That I kind of admire. You can also see the windshield. There's a kind of a fake windshield there, just for the sake of looks, but it does kind of get across a little bit more of Cup's original windshield chest shape, even though it's got this big overhang here now, whereas head's kind of tucked away and all that robot mode or vehicle mode junk. As I said, the arms themselves come together very nicely. They're very solid and bulky here, just the right proportions, and this way, hey, it still gets to be the hollow that these toy lines liked for cost effectiveness, but still fairly solid. Do dig that. There's not as much in the way as of new molding going on here. There's some grooves here and there and some extra cuts and everything, but for the most part, pretty straight up detail here. Not a whole lot of intricacy, though with a character like Cup and or Ironhide, I really wouldn't expect it, so it's not too terrible. Now of course, the one big thing, yeah, we kind of pointed that out, this panel here in the back, which should hinge down all the way, it does not. And that's always kind of the issue with this particular toy. Now, this does raise something that comes up a lot with these reviews, where if I point out a loose joint or something, someone will go, well, just put a little bit of floor polish on it. That'll shore it up, or if, well, that doesn't bend far enough, just hack off a little bit of the plastic and it'll go all the way you want. That's not the point. The point is to represent the toy the way it came out of the package. So if someone sees this video and decides to go buy it off of eBay, what they get out of the package is what I showed in the video. So to modify it in any way before I review it is kind of lying, and I'm not going to do that. I need to present this as fairly as possible. In this case, however, I will give this small allowance. This is hinged on and is not pegged in any way, shape, or form. It comes off quite easily, as a matter of fact. And then you just peg it on the opposite way, and look how nicely it folds up now. This is so, this is shaped so well for this. It's almost to the point where I wonder why, did a swivel get budgeted out of this toy that would have made that, how it was actually supposed to go? Because that would have been much cleaner. And look at it. Now he looks great. Now there's nothing wrong with the way he looks. Now it's all cleaned up into a neat little backpack, and all is right in the world, and Cup is looking good. So that's a little bit strange, but hey, at least it's a very simple fix. No tools, no chemicals required. He can just flip it around and everything's all hunky-dory. Articulation-wise, the head is on a swivel, which can ball joint a little bit, but good luck getting your hands in there to really maneuver it around. Shoulders are on a ball joint. It's a little bit restricted by these shoulder guards, but you can still get fairly good range out of it. The elbows, ball joints, again, so rotation, bend to the 90 degree. All good there. No waste. Hips, fully jointed. He can go through all the poses you would never expect Cup to do. Swivel on the thigh. I like that. 90 degrees to the knee. There's kind of a faux ratchet effect to it. There's some slight detents, but not really enough to make anything solid. So still enough friction there to be a good joint at least. And you have a ball joint in the ankles, so it can rock and pivot and go back and forth and such. So he does have a fair bit of posing to him, and that's all well and good. So he can pose quite a bit for such an old codger. What does let him pose a little bit better are those big cannons that we saw in the vehicle mode. Now, of course, they can just plug into his hand as handguns, but this mold was supposed to be Ironhide, so naturally, the more normal fit are the original peg holes we used in the vehicle mode, which now are, of course, on the sides of his forearms, giving us the gigantic cannon look that he had in the movie, that Ironhide had in the movie. Ironhide had in the movie. I don't know why I went southern on that one, but it's kind of a weird amalgamation. We have an Ironhide body with movie Ironhide's weapons in Cup's color scheme. Toys are weird, guys. I don't know if you've noticed this or not. What I do like is that there is a little extra bit of detail where they can combine together and you get one big cannon, rifle, arm gun, Megatron cannon out of it, whatever you want to pretend it is. That's what it can be. So I do like that little bit of extra playability. I think it helps kind of bring this out as Cup's weapon rather than just copying Ironhide's. So it can be something a little bit different rather than just, yeah, I'm borrowing this, deal with it. You can see, I will give him credit. The molding in there kind of fits perfect to make sure that gun can seat all the way into his hand. So good on ya, Hasbro and Takara. So that is Sergeant Cup, the man who would be Ironhide. He's a good toy, very solid for the time, and I think one of the better examples of the Transformers Prime mainline figures. Yeah, they were starting to feel the budget cuts there. They were still working with how the new toys were going to work, but I think this one came out really, really well. It's got some clever transformation tricks, and while you do kind of have to start pulling on parts to get them to look the way you really want, I think he's decent enough. And part of me is actually kind of happy he came out as Cup, because the two Ironhides in this toy line, Deluxe and Cyberverse, really would have looked different from each other. So this, I think, might have actually been for the best. Not gonna lie, I still want Ironhide.